What's your favorite show?
Breaking Bad.
Good one.
Well, my favorite show is Walking Dead, but my second favorite show is Breaking Bad. And so I'm totally stoked to be talking to these next two guests. Please help me welcome Giancarlo Esposito and RJ Mitte. Please feel free to line up at the mics anytime you guys want, and we'll throw it out to you for questions.
So, second favorite show.
I didn't say that.
Wait, did I get I might have got the order mixed up.
That's what we thought.
Breaking Bad is such an amazing show. The way there's such a command over every aspect of it. I don't really have a question about that, but I just want to know. So you guys, Walter Jr. I know went to Los Pollos Hermanos, but he was outside, right? Did you ever? I don't remember if you had a scene where you were actually together.
Oh, we sure did.
Yeah, we had a
Is
quick...
everything to your satisfaction?
Oh, it was. No, we had a quick snippet, and it was nice because, you know, Walter never really got to hang out with the bad guys. Well, technically they were good guys, just to the family they were bad guys.
Yeah.
But it was cool. We had a full day together, and there was me, you, and Dean Norris, Los Pollos Hermanos, and it was cool.
So as far as you knew, you were just on a nice, happy family sitcom, right?
Yeah. Actually, though, we did have a couple of scenes because at the hospital too.
Exactly.
I was So. He was always friendly and kind, and Gus was a good man, a gentle person.
Yes.
Very kind and caring.
Giving to
and
charity.
Exactly. As far as Walter Jr. knows now, Walt is a bad guy, but Gus was still a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's as far as he knows.
So, yeah, you never did get to really play around with the bad guys that much, and I always kind of thought maybe Walt Jr. might get involved with meth at some point during the series. Do you think that was ever on the table?
I think when it came down to Walt Jr. and the corruption of Walt Jr., I think there was so much drama in it, and all the characters were doing so many bad things, and even at the end of it, Hank started losing himself, and Betsy was a klepto, Walt was a meth chef, and Skylar had her own issues. But I think it would have changed the dynamic of the show and the family if something did happen to Holly and Junior, and I think it would have lost a lot of the purpose of trying to keep that innocence, because they were the only real innocent characters of the show. They stuck true to who they were. They didn't waver. They didn't try to manipulate or do anything to corrupt their spirit. So
I always kind of wondered what you were doing with Lewis all the time, and thought maybe towards the end we would find out that they had been up to some nefarious business themselves, or.
I think they were out partying. That's what Walt Jr. and Lewis were doing. What's cool though is I actually, not a lot of people know this, but there were two Lewises.
Oh really?
Yeah, but they never really called the first guy Lewis. But he was originally Lewis in the script, and then they switched it up and they brought someone else in. Which I have no idea why. I don't know. They could have found the actor again, but
right.
From first season to third season.
It's funny because in my memory of when I watched the show the first time when it was actually on, I had thought we actually never saw Lewis. And then I made my boyfriend marathon the show, which he loved, and I was like, oh my god, there's Lewis.
Remember when I was stealing beer?
Yeah.
I was with Lewis.
Right.
Lewis was one of the guys.
It was on the second watching, I was like, oh, we did. Somehow in my mind, I got it that like he was this just Lewis that we never saw.
And who is Lewis?
Yeah, right.
Giancarlo, did you finish watching the show after you left?
Oh, I sure did.
How did you feel about the way everything wrapped up?
I thought they did a beautiful job wrapping up the show. I thought it was, had a great synchronicity about it. Of course, I miss being there in that last season, but I felt like they tied it up in a very beautiful way. From the very first to the very last, you had reminders of what had happened. You had ultimately, you were reminded about what greed does to people, and so I thought it was very profound the way they ended the show.
It's one of my favorite complete series from beginning to end. So many series you may love, but it has some seasons.
Stuck the landing on that.
Yeah, or some seasons are off and then they don't really know how to wrap it up. And Breaking Bad's one of mine, like from beginning to end, it's just a complete package.
Well, they timed it properly. Vince had a vision that it would go 5 seasons, and he wanted to stick to that. Obviously, it's a story of Walter White, and it's a moral tale that was just so profoundly done, from the colors to the shots that were chosen to the character development. And many times what happens is creators might get greedy, and of course the fans and we all wanted the show to go on longer, but you have what is sort of a perfect series in that he was wise enough to tell the story in 5 seasons.
RJ, I found it really heartbreaking to see Junior just put a hand out against Walt, even though Walt totally deserved it. But it was so sad, and I wonder how it was to play that, and also if you think maybe over time Junior might soften a little bit on his stance against Walt.
Well, I think at this point, Junior is not going to get softened. I think so much happened, so much manipulation and lying, and I think the ending of Breaking Bad was perfect because it was real life. And yes, Vince didn't want to be drug out and used up. He wanted his true story, and that's what's amazing about Vince. Is Vince cares about not just the story, but the characters in the story, and making sure they're real and truthful and that have a life of their own. And it's true. Everything in Breaking Bad, to a degree, is real. People can relate to these characters and how everything played out with Walt and his father, and it worked out perfectly because people know that position. People know when they have to pick that side against their father or their mother in the fights, and it's breaking out. But the thing is when you know something's wrong and you still fall into line, and Walt Jr. didn't fall into that line. He knew what was wrong, and he stuck by his guns and made sure they stayed strong and stayed true to his family when Walt and Skyler both were losing their family and losing themselves in money and power and what they thought of power and greed. It's a story about what greed can do to someone, and I think the way Walt Jr. played it to his father was perfect, because I think everyone knows that fight in one form or another where you do have to stand up and be the protector of your family, and that's what Walt Jr. did.
Sounds like you really admire that.
I think it's something that people should be able to relate to more often than not, and people need that power, and they have that power. They just choose not to exercise that power, because it's a lot easier to be corrupted and go down a darker path and go down a path of self-destruction, and instead of taking that hard road, standing up for what you believe in. And I think that's what something people can admire about themselves, is standing up for what they believe in.
Well, I'm going to throw it out to you guys in a second, but speaking of the darker path, Giancarlo, I want to know, I mean, from Gus's point of view, we got to know so much about his richness and character and what motivated him, but I'm curious, he knew that he was a drug lord, and he knew that what he was doing caused all of these harmful drugs to go out to the world. How did he reconcile that? Did he just not really care about the masses?
No, very much the opposite. Gustavo Fring is a businessman. He could have been selling, Fuller brushes or, sugar. It's about business first. But if you noticed in the series, Gustavo protected his family, his business family. He didn't kill Victor because just to send a message to Walt and Jesse. He killed Victor because Victor was seen when he killed Dale. So, you know, there was a reason for everything. It wasn't just a cold thing that he wanted to kill Victor because he walked in and Victor was cooking, because Victor could have exposed all of Gus's businesses. And so, you know, Gus paid people well. He raised chemists. His whole storyline with Max was that he raised him. The backstory was he took him off the streets and he put him through college, and he made a deal with him. You know, I will give you your college education, then you come and work for me for a certain period of time. Come and be my partner. So he was very much a family, business-oriented human being. He tells Walt, you know, you can never trust a drug addict. This is why we're not alike. Walt says we're very much alike. No, we're not, because I'm very different than you are. You expose and you take chances. And so I do feel like the supply and demand was important to Gus. He had many outlets for the meth he was making, but it's the people who decided to make it. So yes, his consciousness was about protecting the family business-wise. Of course he thought about what it would do to society, but in essence, you know, we're in a capitalistic society that he was taking advantage of.
Thank you. He really should have stuck to his guns on that thing with Waltz about him being too reckless. But I guess it was that Walt was so talented that outweighed, you know, his reservations.
Obviously, Gus is about excellence, and Walt was the best. So, you know, those couple of percentiles better are going to explode the business. Walt he was in line for a little while, and we hoped he would stay in line. But once he got out of line, you know, Gus knew that this was not going to turn out well.
So you guys only had a couple of scenes. Did you know each other very well during the whole filming of this?
Yeah, I would say so. I think everyone on this set was very open, and the set itself was a very family dynamic. I mean, we would see each other from time to time. I'd come say hello on set, and we would talk. And
beg for more scenes together.
Beg for more scenes. I tried to do everything in my power to get more scenes with Giancarlo or Bob or Aaron, but they were like, no, we're just gonna keep you at the breakfast table.
Eating a lot of cereal.
Yeah, eating a lot of cereal, mostly bacon.
Well, I was gonna ask you, because you were young when you started on that show.
Yeah.
Was that you and your family? Did you discuss whether or not to even do it because of the dark subject matter, or was that an issue?
That was the farthest thing, actually, the subject matter. I didn't think about the subject matter. I mean, it wasn't something that we thought about. It wasn't, oh, he's making methamphetamine. What is that going to change the mindset of? No, it was, oh, I booked a job. That's what it actually came down to. Was, oh my God, I'm going to work. This is a lead. Wait, this is a lead role? Wait, they're gonna pay me to do. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, it wasn't really the content of the show was the thing. It was this is going to be 7 years of my life more than anything, and it changed who I am. It changed what I can do, and it gave me opportunities as everything in this world. When you're able to grow and work on a project for as long as we did, and having these family dynamics and like I said earlier, we really did have a family set. We had a crew of around 500. We had like tons of actors constantly coming through the doors. We had our main crew and cast, of course, but we were always very family dynamic, and no one on set was a downer. Everyone loved coming to work. People loved to read the scripts. The crew read the scripts. Everyone loved
knew
it.
what was going to happen,
and they wanted to, and they didn't tell people that what was going to happen. They were they kept it to themselves. They weren't like, oh my God, I just read the script that we're shooting like next week. I'm going to go tell my whole family. No, they're like, I can't tell you. You're going to have to watch, and that's what you want. You want your crew and your cast to be as passionate about a project as anything, and Breaking Bad was a passion project. You know, Vince worked really, really hard to get this project out there. He worked a long time on these characters. He took Breaking Bad to every network across the board, and they all turned him down, except for, I think, FX was interested, but AMC really wanted it, but everyone turned him down, and he worked and wanted this show to succeed, and everything about the show had the ability to do that. It was a show that people never gave the chance, but it had the power in it.
I think that really reflected in the outcome as well, and all of the actors' commitment to their work in it.
I think as an actor, you're supposed to be committed to your work. I mean, if you're not committed to your character and committed to the script, it's not going to be good. it's just a fact. So
let's throw it out to the audience. Let's give these guys a chance. Over here.
How are you guys?
Doing great, thank you.
Oh no.
I'm a massive fan of Walking Dead, but there will never be, I don't think, a drama as good as Breaking Bad. Ever.
Thank you.
My question is, Better Call Saul just started. I know, RJ, you're too young, but do you think there would be any chance we might see Gus in the storyline at all?
I think it could be possible. Anything is possible. I know the first, when they were conceiving the show, Vince asked me if I'd be willing to come on at some point if the opportunity arose, and I said absolutely. And then they started to really move into the show, which I think was supposed to be in the beginning a comedy, and now has moved toward the darker side. I know Peter Gould has said he doesn't believe that Saul knew Gus, that Saul knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy who knew Gus. But judging from where the show is going, I think there's always a possibility. My suggestion to Vince was that if they did want me to come on, Gustavo Fring to come on Saul, that I come on and do a guest episode, and that they spin that into another show called The Rise of Gus. This to me is a no-brainer. And we would do, just a limited 13 episodes where you were able to find out about Gus's backstory and his motivations before we meet him in Breaking Bad. I think it would be a great thing.
Chile and everything.
I think we all want to see that.
Have you guys been watching?
I have, yeah. I like Saul a lot. I was befuddled by the first one. It was creatively beautiful and interesting, and I was trying to figure it out and thought, this is really interesting because it's kind of oddly comedic, but yet dramatic. And then now it's moving into where I think it should really live, and I think it's already an excellent show, and everyone's going to get a chance to really find their sea legs in Saul's world.
Again, it's visually stunning. I love it.
Over here.
First, I'd like to say I wish you'd come to me first because that was my question. But no, seriously, you guys, RJ, Giancarlo, y'all did an amazing job in that series. My hat's off to you. The death scene of Gus was just, but my question is, a trust fund is set up at the end of the show, the remainder of the money to go to Walt Jr., to Holly, and to Skylar. My question is, do you think that Skylar would have accepted the money after everything that she went through, or would she have let it go?
Well, I don't think Walt Jr. would accept the money, and if you know, it wasn't really the money he didn't set up for Skylar. It was for his son. He gave it to I'm drawing a blank on her name. The company Grey Matter. It'd be loaned out through that. That's the concept of how they would get him the money. But I think $9 million or $6 million would be a little fishy to Walt Jr. I don't think he would actually accept it just out of spite and anger towards his father and the way he left it and left them. Because he did literally, if you think about it, it's kind of messed up the way Walt Jr. did it. He didn't, or not Walt Jr., Walt Sr. Left them because he really just kind of went and chose his new family. The last conversation he had with his son was a screaming match, and he didn't try to reconcile. He saw him from a distance. It would be like your son just yelled at you and called you a horrible human being, and you're going to look at him from afar and not try to reconcile with him when you know you're going to die. Because he went up to that cabin to die. That was and in a sense, a way of suicide without him, and with him keeping his pride. And that shows you how greedy Heisenberg was. Not so much Walt, but Heisenberg, and how he lost his real family, but he gained his new one. And Jesse was his family, and that says a lot about his character. So I think out of spite, I don't think they would really accept the money because of the way everything went down and how it played into everything.
Thank you. Hi, my question is for Giancarlo. How did you come up with your portrayal of Gus? Because I know for myself, the cold, quiet, calculating portrayal of him was what made him so terrifying.
I received the first episode after I agreed to do the show as a guest spot, as a guest star in the show. And what I noticed in the stage directions, Vince Gilligan had written "Hiding in Plain Sight." And to me, that stage direction of a person hiding in plain sight was fascinating to me, because I thought, how many people do we all know who could be hiding in plain sight? We see them leave their next door neighbor, we see them get in their car, take the kids to school, and go to work. But do we really know who they are or what they do? Are they really who they say they are? So to me, this is what was fascinating to me. And from the very onset, my idea was to create a character that you thought you knew, but that you really didn't. Someone who was affable, charming, graceful, calm, had a business within the community, supported the community through the fun run, supported the hospital, was just someone that you really believed in and knew to be true. And that fascinated me. So after doing the first episode, and before even getting off the plane to get home, as soon as I landed, they were asking me to do another. I wanted to talk to Vince, because I didn't want to just continue to do guest spots. I had a great idea for the development of who this character was. I really truly believe that if you saw someone that you could trust, who was affable and kind, even though you had no idea that this person would be a menace later on, someone who ran their business impeccably, who cared about their employees, this would deepen the dynamic of someone who you would fear if you crossed. And so it worked out beautifully that not only that I did the guest spots at the end of season 2, they asked me to come back in season 3 and do 7 episodes. I declined. I said no. And they said, why? I said, because I don't want to just do guest spots. I feel like this character has something to say about the American dream. This character has something to say about someone who is hiding in plain sight. And I would like to be able to tell that story through this character, linking it up to what Vince's idea was for Walter White. So it turned out better than I ever could imagine that it would have. And I feel like this character can be terrifying. You know, we all have different shades of gray within us. Nothing is quite black and white. How do you know if someone is living a life that basically is nefarious or not? Well, you know if you cross them. You know if you're really paying attention. Some clue you will be given will tell you, oh, I don't know if I really like this guy. So I'm glad that you enjoyed what you saw.
You feel that you should have...
You're welcome.
And then you feel you should have listened to that gut instinct all along.
Well, absolutely. You know, I'm a person who believes we should follow our gut. It's difficult today because we don't ask ourselves that personal question every day. Where am I at right now? You know, we rely on our electronics to tell us where to go, how to stay in touch, how to communicate, and we've forgotten that our gut instinct. Give you an example. A great scene for me was Gus's spidey sense. You know, when he comes out to that garage after having this meeting, and he just looks and he feels the energy for a split second. He's listening to his gut. He sees that he left the car there with no one guarding it. The car is completely by itself. Something tells him, I'm not going back to that car. And he feels like he's being watched. He goes to the edge of the garage and he turns around and says, let's go. I mean, Gus was really paying attention to his instincts. And that's important for all of us to get back to.
That scene was so intense, and it really showed some like fantastic acting because there was very little being said, and just I remember my eyes being glued to the screen watching you look around the garage and make those decisions in just complete quiet.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing your vision with Vince that way and just change the show for the better. And it's so great that you
what
that
you wanted to
were
do, you
successful
pulled
with that.
off because you came in. You know, you weren't originally in the series, and then you weren't in the series in the end. But I think we would all agree when we think of Breaking Bad, among other things, we think of Gus Fring.
Thank you so much.
I wonder, when you create a character like that, and it's so impressive because his way of being is pretty different from how you are. You're more expressive. He's very still. Do you ever think, when you create this character and it's realized, do you learn, wow, this is really powerful, and take some of that back for yourself? You know, learn about life that way?
Absolutely. You know, I've been acting for a long time, and now I give myself a little assignment. It's to do less. It's to try to take on less in my performance. And my assignment for Gus Fring was just to be relaxed, to breathe, to pay more attention to my scene partner than myself. People get uncomfortable when you really start checking them out. It's not a comfortable thing because they're not used to it. They're used to you being on your phone and having a conversation with them. When someone gives you all of their attention, it demands that you pay attention to them. And so for me, I was so inspired by what Vince Gilligan had written. And I realized that after the first episode that I appeared on screen, he was inspired by what I was doing. I was equally inspired by Bryan Cranston, my scene partner. And so I've taken a lot of that with me because what we don't allow in our lives is space. We don't allow ourselves time to hear the air conditioning running, to hear the boom of whatever's going on over there, to listen to our own breath. And that timing is important for our lives. It's important because it allows us to pay attention and to be more present. And I think that is something I've taken away from the gift I was given in the opportunity to play Gus.
That's great. I think we're over here, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Breaking Bad, my favorite show of all time. My question, at the end of Face Off, when Walter is on the phone with Skylar, he says, "I won." This question is for either of you. Given how things ended up for him, do you think he ultimately did win?
He only won a losing game. The industry that he is in is something that you cannot win. What he won was what he thought he won was power. He thought he took control. He thought he controlled the market. And you know, the thing about this market in particular is there's always someone bigger and there's always someone stronger, and you won't win. You can't win. It's a losing game, and he didn't pay the ultimate price. He may have won a lot of things, but it's like gambling in a casino pretty much. It's like you may win that one big pot, but how much money did you spend to get there? What did you sacrifice? What did you give up to win that? And exactly, what did it cost you? And how much are you willing to let it take who you are? And I think he may have won, but he didn't win his family. He didn't win his freedom. He only gave it up.
I love it. He won the losing game. That's so good.
Thanks. Over here.
My question is for Giancarlo. Huge fan of Revolution and Tom Neville. What was your favorite fight scene or intimidation scene that you
I love the fight scene in the alley with Billy Berg. That was early on in our play, and it was truly fun to get into that fight scene. I remember he missed and cracked me in the jaw, and it really hurt. And on the next take, I missed and cracked him in the nose. And we looked at each other and went, okay, this has got to stop. We're going to hurt each other. I did love that show. It was a great honor to be able to play Tom Neville. I think Eric Kripke, who created Revolution, was a real genius. I'm sorry it didn't go on longer, but a very complicated, interesting character. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Giancarlo, I was wondering about how you got involved with the electric company, and how did that form the base of your acting career?
Well, that was the electric company I did the theme song for back when I was probably about 10, 11 years old.
Wow.
And it led me to be Big Bird's camp counselor on Sesame Street years later.
It's one of my favorite shows.
It was a great show for me because it was one of the earliest times outside of Guiding Light, the soap opera that I was on camera, and it gave me a sense of doing some comedy as well. But anytime that you're able to spend, look, in the world today, I don't care what you do, number one, you should love what you do. You should wake up in the morning and be excited and intrigued about having to go and work. Now, we call work in our world, we use that four-letter word, work. And, in my world, really work is play. So if we can think of our work as play, we'd get a lot more enjoyment out of it. It would be more fun. It would be a creative process where we're in service to others and to ourselves. And to me, that's what I do every day. If I'm not allowing myself to be happy in what I do, then I want to change what I do. Because we are implements of change ourselves as human beings, and we should be uplifting. We should be having fun at what we do, no matter what it is. So I had a great time on Sesame Street, and it was great to be there.
Yeah.
Do you stay in touch with Big Bird?
What's that?
Do you stay in touch with Big Bird?
Carol Finney, I did stay in touch with him for a long time. He was a real fun guy to be with. People don't know his face because he was inside that silly bird suit, but he really was quite wonderful.
What's that? It's the electric company. That's the one, right?
We're gonna turn it on. We're gonna bring you the power. Yes. Hey, you guys! The electric company.
Was it Morgan Freeman also on the electric company?
What's that?
Was it Morgan Freeman also?
He
on
was
the
also.
electric
That's
company?
where I met Morgan.
Oh, did you?
Another really fun and incredible actor.
Rita
Was on the electric company as well.
Rita Moreno.
Rita Moreno, that's right.
Are you getting jealous, RJ? Do you wish you were?
Yeah, I'm remembering where I was during that time and place, and I was fairly young. Let's just leave it at that. But it's still on, actually. They still have reruns of the electric company.
Sure do.
It just shows you how amazing television is. For senses, you have a whole history of a different person that you used to be, but it still comes back no matter what. In this industry, Breaking Bad will probably live on longer than we will, and it's the same thing with the electric company and all those shows that we remember will continue to keep us alive in our own
And what's
sense.
your favorite show that you stay up late night watching?
I've been watching. I've seen it in its entirety twice, but I just started rewatching MASH. It's such a good. I'm at season 5, episode 18, because they had like 23 episodes a season. Those are the good days when
That's commitment.
and it kept you busy through the whole year. It circumferenced, it engulfed your life pretty much, those shows, and yeah, it keeps them going. So.
Is there anything else you guys want to ask each other?
I got mine in.
Yeah, no, I'm trying. I think I've asked in the last 7-8 years. I think I've asked everything of Giancarlo that I wanted. Giancarlo was an amazing experience to be a part of because what he did bring to Gus, that steadiness, that calming. Breaking Bad was a show not about words, not being talky. It was about action. It was about physicality, and that's what it is. An actor is that physicality that you're bringing it to life and having that. And I thought it was amazing what you were able to do with that character. and how calm he was, but yet still had this emotional energy that registered even when he wasn't emotional. It still was a force, and that's a true testament to someone's abilities and what they can create in themselves. Because if you can internalize no reaction and making a reaction, it's a talent, and we had fun. I learned so much from everyone, and especially the importance of saying nothing but saying everything at the same time.
RJ, you just brought up physicality, and that was something I wanted to ask you about with your cerebral palsy. I know that in the show, I don't know if it was a writer's decision or the producer's decision or partially yours decision to have his, Walt Jr.'s case to be a little bit more extreme. So how did you go about preparing for that? And did you worry about crossing the line of making it too like stereotypical? Or did you have to fight with AMC at all, and where you wanted that to fall?
My character is actually based on a friend of Vincent's. My character was a real person, as any writer has in their scripts, are usually always based on someone they know. It's someone that's touched them. I don't know if Vince knows too many Walter White types, but he knew my character. He went to college with my character. That my character is based on, and he did have a severe form, well, more severe than me, of cerebral palsy. And at the end of the day, I wasn't really concerned because Vince knew what he needed of that character, what he wanted. I had faith in all the writers. I didn't doubt them. I didn't need to, and I allowed them to do what they do, and that's create an amazing story. And yes, when you're portraying a character with a disability, it's very important to give it accuracy and realism and a true person, because when you get characters with disabilities, people are like, oh, we have to base it on that disability, we have to like make it more drastic, and that's not the case. Because yes, my character may have had a more severe form, but I grew up with that disability. I know my disability. It's part of who I am. It's not really, and the thing is I never think about it until someone is talking about it. I don't think of it. And what's cool is it's the same thing with Walt Jr. It may look more physical to you, but the reason why it looked like that is because of the crutches. And this tells you something though about the human brain, because if I walked in with crutches, you would see a whole different person because of the crutches. When you have a prop, when you have anything that you rely on or use, people see that first. They see that and then they see you. And that makes it look more severe. And that's what needs to change, and that's why I'm lucky that I work with amazing organizations that are trying to change the mindset. But this is the thing, I really didn't play up my disability at all. I just kind of read my lines, I did what I needed to do, and I played my character. And I didn't think at one time about his CP. Like, yeah, the crutches were one thing, and how I had to hold myself and make sure I wasn't too tall or too short, or make sure I was using them properly. But at the end of the day, I never thought of it. I never thought, oh, I have to slur more, or, oh, I have to limp now. No, I just played the character, and the physicality and the imaging of that just came along, and people saw it, and that's a testament to how people's brains work though now.
I mean, it was really interesting because at the beginning of the show they kind of dwelt on cerebral palsy a little bit, but then they kind of let it go, and you did kind of forget about it. I did, and I just saw the person.
It was the whole reason why they brought up the cerebral palsy in the first season is because Walt was complaining about cancer. I mean, like he was just, oh, woe is me, but his son was dealing with this and grew up with a condition that he had to overcome, and this is the same thing. Like any type of terminal disease or condition, any challenge in life, it is exactly that, a challenge to overcome, to make you stronger. A disability or anything like this is not a weakness or an illness. It is knowledge, it's power, it's a strength, and it's an opportunity for you to know yourself even better. So it's great.
Hey, Hanny, love you both. Okay, I got a quick question. On season 2 of The Walking Dead, Daryl pulls out some of Walter White's meth. Are you guys gonna join us?
Do you think the meth caused the zombie apocalypse?
Bad batch. I don't think AMC is really particular though about crossover. Like I tried to get on The Walking Dead many a times. I even offered a bribe. I said, "What do you want?" But I think our characters in our way are so defined of what people see. And if you watched me or Giancarlo walk in the back, they'd be like, "Is that Gus on Walking Dead?" It's like, what? Like that's kind of what would happen, because it is such a big AMC family, and they don't want that to taint that story. Sadly enough, I
would agree.
But you never know.
Are you a fan, Giancarlo?
Yeah, I love it.
What do you think of it?
I think the show is great, particularly the work of many of the directors, but Greg Nicotero especially has. He has just done some incredible work. You know, he created the bust and my makeup for Face Off, and I met him back then, and he had aspirations to direct, but got a chance to go through his whole warehouse and watch them do all the Breaking Bad. The Walking Dead dummies and everything, and so I'm very happy he's got a chance to really break out and do something new, and that he's really been a crowd and fan pleaser for such a long time now.
Yeah, he's been directing a lot lately. Some amazing episodes. Over here.
I just had a quick question about how life outside of Breaking Bad has been, and has Better Call Saul started any more excitement in your lives than it has already?
You know what's really unique about Breaking Bad, and I don't think a lot of shows get this opportunity, but people are still tuning in. People are still now just watching the show. So technically, we're not really done if you think about it. Who has finished the show? Sorry, don't raise your hand. Who has not finished the show? All right, see, but we are in a different realm. You say that at most places, a lot of people have not finished the show. A lot of people are on season 4 and 3, and what's cool is who has seen Better Call Saul and not seen Breaking Bad? There's a lot of people that I've met that are like that, and I know we're in a different crowd. So I know y'all are all loving Walking Dead and Breaking Bad. Y'all are on the AMC train, but there's a lot of people around the world that have seen Better Call Saul, and that they're like, I have to go watch Breaking Bad now.
We're still gaining viewers on Breaking Bad, and for me, it's been over 4 years since I've been on the show. So life afterwards has been interesting, and then I get recognized everywhere, and people are very deferential to Gustavo Fring, which is wonderful. People let me cut the line, or let me order first, or let me go to the bathroom on the airplane before they do. And especially if I give them the Gus look, then it's done. You do what I want you to do, period. But it's fascinating, life afterwards, because both of us, I imagine RJ is equally a fan of Saul as I am, and the writers as well. And I'm very deferential to the fans of the show, because if you watch Breaking Bad, you're watching smart television. And if you haven't watched it, you are going to watch it, because it will go down as the best television show in the history of television ever.
Well, I have to admit, I lied because I was pandering to the Walking Dead audience, but Breaking Bad is actually my favorite show. And it's a real pleasure to have you guys up here. We're at time, so please give these guys a round of applause.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you exit, we're going to be showing a preview for the film The Lotus.